Women say these four words when they develop feelings for you. Psychology tricks. We are most honest in the small things we say without thinking, a quiet truth about human connection that many people overlook. Right now, pause for a moment and think about your recent conversations with women. Something subtle may have been happening right in front of you, yet you may have never noticed it. In everyday dialogue, women often reveal their genuine feelings in ways that seem ordinary on the surface. Not with dramatic confessions or obvious compliments, but through a few simple words that slip out naturally when they feel comfortable around you. Many men assume attraction must be obvious. They expect clear signals or bold statements. But real emotional interest rarely works that way. More often, it appears quietly in casual conversation, in the small phrases a woman uses when her guard drops and she begins to feel safe and emotionally connected. Psychologists who study communication patterns often point out an interesting reality. People reveal their emotions unconsciously long before they openly admit them. Through tone, wording, and repeated phrases, the mind leaks clues about what the heart is starting to feel. And in conversations between men and women, certain expressions appear again and again when attraction begins to form. The surprising part is that most men hear these signals constantly and never realize what they mean. They brush them off as normal conversation. They assume it's friendliness or politeness. Meanwhile, the woman may actually be revealing far more than she intends. Think about the woman who finds small reasons to start conversations with you. The colleague who remembers details about things you mentioned weeks ago. The friend who suddenly seems more curious about your plans, your interests, or your thoughts. These behaviors rarely appear randomly. They often reflect a growing emotional investment. At Stoicism Win, the goal isn't manipulation or clever tricks. The goal is understanding human behavior with clarity. When you understand the patterns behind attraction, you stop guessing. You begin to notice the small verbal cues that reveal how someone truly feels. In this video, we're going to explore four specific phrases psychologists frequently observe when a woman begins developing deeper interest in a man. They're simple. They sound ordinary. Yet once you understand their meaning, you'll hear them very differently. By the time we're finished, you'll begin to recognize attraction in conversations that once seemed completely normal. Instead of wondering endlessly, does she like me or am I imagining it? You'll be able to read the situation with far greater confidence. But here's the interesting part. Once you learn these phrases, you'll start noticing them everywhere, in conversations you have, in stories friends tell, even in moments from your past that suddenly make more sense. So ask yourself one simple question before we begin. Have you ever heard a woman say something that made you pause for a second? Something that felt slightly different, even if you couldn't explain why? That feeling wasn't random. And now let's begin with the first word. 1. You matter. You matter for simple words. Quiet, direct. But when a woman says them, they carry far more weight than most men realize. This is not casual conversation. This is not a polite phrase tossed into the air the way people say, nice to meet you, or have a good day. When a woman looks at you and says, you matter, she is revealing something deeper about how she sees you, how she feels about you, and where you are beginning to stand inside her emotional world. Many men miss this moment because they are trained to listen only for obvious signs of attraction. Compliments, flirting, physical cues. But real connection rarely announces itself loudly. It often arrives quietly, hidden inside simple language. And this is where understanding psychology tricks, female psychology, and the subtle process of how to fall in love becomes powerful. Because attraction, especially emotional attraction, grows through recognition, through meaning, through significance. When she says, you matter, she is acknowledging that your presence in her life has begun to carry weight. Not superficial weight, emotional weight. And emotional weight is the foundation of real connection. Think about how rarely people use this phrase in everyday life. Most people offer compliments that are easy and safe. You're funny. You're smart. You're nice. Those comments sit on the surface. But you matter goes deeper. It speaks to identity, to value, to importance. It says that who you are, not just what you do, has begun to affect her life in a meaningful way. That is a powerful signal within female psychology because women rarely invest emotionally in people who have not already shown them consistency, presence, and emotional steadiness. When a woman reaches the point where she tells you that you matter, she is revealing that you have crossed a psychological threshold. You are no longer just someone she talks to. You are someone whose presence influences how she feels, someone whose attention has meaning, someone whose absence would be noticed. That is not a small step. That is the beginning of emotional attachment. Now, here's where many men misunderstand the moment. They think attraction begins with excitement, charm, or dramatic gestures. But in reality, one of the most important psychology tricks in relationships is much simpler: emotional safety. Women fall in love with men who make them feel understood, respected, and seen. Not men who constantly try to impress them, but men who listen. Men who remain calm. Men who are present without trying to dominate every moment with their own stories or achievements. Emotional presence is rare in modern conversations. Most people listen only long enough to prepare their next sentence. But when a man truly listens, when he pays attention not only to words but to tone, mood, and meaning, he creates a powerful form of connection. And this is where the phrase, "you matter," often begins to appear. Because when someone feels deeply heard, they begin to feel valued. And when they feel valued, they begin to value the person who gave them that space. This is one of the quiet mechanics of how to fall in love. Love rarely grows from grand displays alone. It grows from repeated moments where someone feels emotionally safe in your presence. Consider the difference between being around someone who waits impatiently for their turn to speak and being around someone who genuinely listens. The first interaction drains energy. The second builds connection. When a woman says, "you matter," she is often reflecting the experience of feeling seen by you. She is telling you that your attention, your steadiness, and your presence have created something meaningful in her life. That recognition does not happen overnight. It grows through consistency, through showing up the same way again and again, through demonstrating that your interest in her thoughts and feelings is real, not performative. Many men try to create attraction through performance. They try to impress, entertain, or persuade. But deep attraction forms when a woman feels understood without needing to fight for attention. That is one of the most overlooked psychology tricks in relationships. Quiet attention builds stronger bonds than loud effort. And when a woman finally says, "you matter," she is acknowledging that you have become emotionally relevant to her life. Emotional relevance is powerful. In female psychology, relevance is tied to trust. Women tend to invest their emotional energy carefully. They pay attention to patterns: who shows up consistently, who listens, who respects boundaries, who remains steady during stressful moments. Over time, these observations form an emotional map. And when a man consistently demonstrates reliability and empathy, he begins to occupy a meaningful space in that map. When she says, "you matter," she is revealing that you now exist in that space. Your thoughts influence her thinking. Your opinions carry weight. Your presence changes her emotional atmosphere. That is why this phrase is rarely spoken casually. It represents recognition: recognition of character, recognition of emotional presence, recognition of influence. She is telling you that your existence in her life has become meaningful beyond surface interaction. And that is where the deeper process of how to fall in love begins to unfold. Because love rarely begins with fireworks. It begins with significance, with noticing someone repeatedly, with realizing that their presence improves your emotional world, with recognizing that conversations with them feel different from conversations with others. When a woman says, "you matter," she is expressing that realization out loud. She is acknowledging that your presence carries emotional value. Now, here's the important thing every man should understand. When you hear those words, don't rush the moment. Don't immediately try to escalate, impress, or analyze. Simply receive it. Appreciate it. Because the phrase itself already represents emotional investment. Respond with calm gratitude. Something simple like, "that means a lot to hear," carries far more strength than turning the moment into a dramatic conversation. Emotional maturity is attractive. It shows that you understand the significance of the moment without needing to exaggerate it. And emotional maturity is a powerful element in female psychology. Women often feel drawn to men who remain grounded when emotions become meaningful, not men who panic, not men who dismiss the moment, but men who accept emotional depth with quiet confidence. This steadiness creates safety, and safety allows attraction to grow stronger. Remember, the phrase "you matter" is not about ego. It is about recognition. She is not placing you above others as a trophy. She is acknowledging that you have touched her emotional world in a way that feels meaningful. That is why understanding these subtle signals matters so much, because many men miss them entirely. They wait for obvious declarations while overlooking the quiet signals that reveal genuine emotional investment. And learning to recognize these signals is one of the most powerful psychology tricks a man can develop in relationships. Not manipulation, not strategy, awareness. Awareness of emotional language, awareness of patterns, awareness of the moments when connection deepens. Once you understand this, you begin to see attraction differently. You realize that the early stages of how to fall in love often hide inside small sentences. A question asked with genuine curiosity, a message sent simply to check how you're doing, a moment of vulnerability shared during conversation, or the quiet statement, "You matter." These moments reveal emotional movement beneath the surface. And when you respond with calm appreciation, you reinforce the emotional safety that allowed that moment to appear in the first place. Over time, this creates a powerful cycle. She feels valued. You respond with steadiness. Trust grows. Connection deepens. Attraction strengthens. This is how meaningful relationships evolve. Not through pressure, not through dramatic declarations, but through repeated moments of recognition and emotional respect. That is the true lesson hidden behind those four words. When a woman tells you that you matter, she is showing you that your presence has crossed the boundary between casual interaction and emotional significance. You are no longer just someone she knows. You are someone she values, someone whose attention carries weight, someone whose character she respects. And in the language of female psychology, that is one of the clearest signs that deeper feelings may already be beginning to grow. 2. We. Now, let's move to the second word, and this one carries enormous meaning. The word is we. At first glance, it sounds ordinary, almost too simple to notice. But in human relationships, small words often reveal the deepest emotional shifts. When a woman begins replacing I with we, something important has changed in how she sees you. This shift does not happen accidentally. Think about the natural way people speak. When someone talks about their life independently, they usually say things like, "I'll do this," or "I'm planning that." Their world revolves around their individual path. Their plans are personal. Their vision is singular. But the moment "we" begins to appear in her language, the structure of that vision changes. Now it's not just her story. Now it's a shared one. And that is a powerful emotional signal. When a woman starts saying things like, "We should try that restaurant," "We could plan a trip there," or "We'll figure it out together," she is doing something subtle but meaningful. She is mentally placing you beside her in the narrative of her future. She is not simply talking about an activity. She is talking about a partnership. And partnership begins with language. Language always reveals how the mind organizes relationships. The moment someone uses "we," they're acknowledging that another person has become part of their internal world. This is why the word carries so much weight, because attraction is not just about chemistry in the present moment. Attraction grows deeper when someone begins imagining life experiences with you in the future. And when that happens, we appears naturally. Now let's slow down and really break this down. The word "we" represents inclusion. It signals that she no longer sees you as someone standing outside her life. You are not simply a person she occasionally spends time with. Instead, you are someone whose presence feels natural inside her plans. Notice the difference between these two sentences. "I might go on that trip someday," versus "We should go on that trip someday." The first sentence describes a personal thought. The second sentence invites you into a shared experience. That shift may seem small on the surface, but emotionally it is significant. Because when she says we, she is not just suggesting an activity. She is acknowledging that your presence matters in the story she is imagining. This is one of the early signs that a woman is beginning to see you as someone meaningful in her life. Now, here is something important for men to understand. Women rarely announce emotional investment directly. They do not usually say, "I'm beginning to imagine a future with you." Instead, they communicate it through subtle language patterns. Words like we. That is why attentive men notice it. A high-value man pays attention not only to what people say, but to how they say it. He listens carefully. He notices patterns. He understands that emotional signals often hide inside ordinary conversations. And when he hears we, he recognizes the deeper meaning. Because we reveals that she is beginning to see the relationship as something shared. Now think about how this connects to emotional trust. For a woman to start using we, she must feel comfortable including you in her inner world. She must feel safe imagining experiences with you. She must believe that your presence adds something positive to her life. This kind of thinking does not happen overnight. It develops gradually. At first, two people are simply getting to know each other. Conversations are light. Plans are independent. Each person still operates in their own orbit. But as emotional connection grows, the boundaries begin to soften. Suddenly, the language changes. Instead of I, she says we. Instead of my plans, she says our plans. And that small linguistic shift reveals something deeper. She is no longer imagining life entirely on her own. She is imagining it with you. Now here is where many men miss the moment. Because the word we often appears casually. It might come up in a simple conversation about the weekend. Maybe she says, "We could check out that place downtown." Or, "We should watch that movie sometime." On the surface, it sounds like a simple suggestion. But beneath the surface, it signals emotional openness. She is inviting you into her experiences. And that invitation is meaningful. When a man carries calm confidence and grounded masculine energy, women naturally begin imagining shared experiences with him. His presence feels stable. His direction feels clear. Being around him feels safe and enjoyable. And when that emotional environment exists, the word we begins to appear more often. Now let's talk about another powerful aspect of this word. We creates emotional partnership. When she says things like, "We'll handle it," "We'll figure it out," or "We've got this," she is communicating something deeper than attraction. She is communicating teamwork. Relationships that last are built on this exact mindset. Not me versus you, but us together. That is why the word we carries so much emotional strength. It represents cooperation. It represents mutual support. It represents the idea that challenges, decisions, and experiences will be approached together. This is the moment when a relationship begins shifting from casual connection into something more meaningful. Now here is something crucial. Do not rush this process. Do not force it. A man trying too hard to manufacture emotional closeness often pushes it away instead. That is why you must remain calm, remain grounded, remain patient. A high-value man understands that attraction grows best in a relaxed environment. He does not chase emotional signals. He allows them to emerge naturally. And when they do, he recognizes them. The word we is one of those signals. It means she is beginning to see you not just as someone interesting today, but as someone who might belong in tomorrow as well. Now let's look at another layer. Respect. The word we also reveals respect for your presence and your opinion. When she says, "We should try this," she is not simply dictating a plan. She is acknowledging that your perspective matters. She is including you in the decision-making process. That is partnership. It shows she values your thoughts. It shows she sees you as someone worth considering. This is where strong masculine energy quietly shapes the dynamic. When a man lives with clarity, purpose, and emotional balance, people naturally respect his perspective. They want to include him. They want his opinion in the conversation. That is why women begin using the language of we. They feel comfortable building experiences around your presence. Now remember something important. Attraction is not only about excitement, it is about security and trust. When a woman uses we, she is expressing a small but meaningful level of both. She is saying, without saying it directly, that she enjoys the idea of sharing life experiences with you. Maybe she is talking about travel. Maybe she is talking about weekend plans. Maybe she is talking about solving a problem together. The topic itself does not matter as much as the structure of the sentence, because the structure reveals the emotional shift. And when that shift happens, you should recognize it. Do not overreact. Do not analyze it out loud. Simply notice it. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Continue being the kind of man who makes shared experiences feel natural and enjoyable. That is how you attract women in a genuine way. Not through pressure, not through performance, but through presence. Because when a man carries quiet confidence, emotional stability, and authentic masculine energy, something interesting happens. Women begin imagining a future where he is naturally part of their world. And when that imagination begins to form, the language changes. I slowly becomes we. That is the moment when attraction starts transforming into emotional investment. So pay attention the next time you hear it. If she says, we should try that, if she says, we'll figure it out, if she says, we should go there sometime, pause for a moment. Listen carefully, because she may be revealing something deeper than she even realizes. She may be showing that in her mind, the story is no longer about one person. It is beginning to be about two. And when that happens, it means the connection between you is moving towards something larger, something shared, something meaningful, something that begins with a very small word, we. And when a woman starts saying we, it means you're no longer just a part of her present. You're part of the future she's quietly imagining. So if you understand the power behind that simple word, drop this in the comments right now. When she says we, I know the connection is real. Like the video, subscribe for more powerful psychology insights, and remember, the smallest words often reveal the deepest feelings. 3. Safe. Now we arrive at the third word, and perhaps the most meaningful word a woman can say when real feelings begin to grow. It is not dramatic. It is not poetic. It is not wrapped in romance or flashy emotion. Yet it carries extraordinary weight. When a woman looks at you and says, I feel safe with you, understand something clearly, you are hearing one of the most powerful signals of emotional connection that exists in human relationships. This is not casual language. This is not polite conversation. This is a declaration of trust. And trust in today's complicated world is one of the rarest currencies a man can ever earn. When a woman says she feels safe with you, she is not talking only about physical safety. Of course, strength matters. Stability matters. But the safety she is describing goes deeper than that. She is talking about emotional safety, mental calm, a sense that when she is around you, her mind can relax instead of staying on guard. In a world where people constantly judge, criticize, compete, and compare, emotional safety feels like stepping into a quiet room after standing in a storm all day. Think about modern life for a moment. People are busier than ever. Conversations are shorter. Attention is fragmented. Phones buzz. Notifications never stop. Social media pushes everyone to perform instead of simply being themselves. Many people move through life wearing invisible armor, carefully protecting their thoughts, their fears, their insecurities. They smile. They joke. They appear confident. But inside, they are cautious about who they truly open up to. So when a woman says she feels safe with you, it means you have done something most men never do. You have created a space where she does not feel pressure to perform. She does not feel the need to impress. She does not feel like she must hide parts of herself. She can relax. She can breathe. She can simply exist without pretending. And that, my friend, is incredibly powerful. The great philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When a woman feels safe with a man, her thoughts around him become calm instead of anxious, curious instead of cautious, open instead of guarded. That emotional shift changes everything. Attraction may begin with appearance, humor, or charm, But long-term emotional connection begins with safety. Understand this principle deeply. Attraction sparks interest. Safety builds love. Attraction creates excitement. Safety creates loyalty. Attraction may start the fire, but emotional safety is the oxygen that keeps it burning. Without it, passion fades. With it, connection grows stronger over time. Now listen carefully. Feeling safe does not mean being passive. It does not mean constantly agreeing with her. It does not mean avoiding honest conversations or pretending everything is perfect. That is not strength. That is avoidance. And avoidance never creates respect. True safety comes from stability, from emotional control, from the quiet confidence of a man who does not panic when situations become complicated, a man who listens before reacting, a man who remains grounded when emotions run high, a man who speaks truth calmly instead of reacting impulsively. This is where old Stoic wisdom becomes incredibly valuable. Stoicism teaches that the strongest man is not the loudest man. The strongest man is the one who governs his own mind, the one who refuses to be controlled by chaos, the one who maintains clarity even when life becomes difficult. That mindset creates what we might call an iron mind. And when a man develops an iron mind, people around him feel it immediately. They sense stability. They sense calm. They sense reliability. Women are highly sensitive to emotional environments. They notice how a man reacts to pressure. They notice how he handles disagreement. They notice whether he becomes defensive, impatient, or dismissive, or whether he remains steady, grounded, respectful. That difference shapes whether she feels tension or peace around you. Remember the words of Epictetus, another Stoic teacher: "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery of your emotions is not just philosophy. It is deeply practical. It changes how people experience your presence. When you control your reactions, conversations feel safe. When you remain calm, conflicts feel manageable. When you show patience, trust grows naturally. And trust, once established, becomes the bridge that leads to intimacy. When a woman feels safe with you, she begins to reveal more of her inner world. She shares thoughts she normally keeps private. She talks about her dreams, her ambitions, her worries, sometimes even the painful chapters of her past. That openness is not random. It is a response to the environment you create. People open up when they sense emotional stability. And here is something most men misunderstand. Emotional safety is not created through grand gestures. It is built through consistency. Small actions repeated over time. Keeping your word. Listening without interrupting. Being present during conversations instead of distracted. Showing patience when she explains something important to her. These simple behaviors create powerful signals. They communicate reliability. They communicate respect. They communicate that your attention is genuine rather than temporary. In the philosophy behind Stoicism win, emotional mastery becomes the foundation for strong relationships. Because when a man develops an iron mind, he no longer reacts impulsively to every emotional wave that passes through his life. He becomes steady, predictable in the best sense, and that steadiness becomes a form of security for those around him. Think about storms in nature. During a storm, everything moves. Trees sway. Rain falls violently. Winds shift directions. But deep below the ocean surface, the water remains calm. That is the mindset Stoicism teaches. Surface chaos does not disturb inner stability. When you embody that principle, people feel it, especially women. A woman who says she feels safe with you is telling you something profound. She is telling you that when she is around you, her nervous system relaxes instead of tightening. Her thoughts slow down instead of racing. Her guard lowers instead of rising. That emotional response is not forced. It is instinctive. Psychology research repeatedly confirms something interesting. Humans form deeper attachments to individuals who create emotional stability. When the brain perceives safety, it releases chemicals associated with trust and bonding. Oxytocin increases. Stress hormones decrease. Conversations become more open. Emotional intimacy grows naturally. This is not manipulation. This is human biology responding to consistent emotional signals. And that is why the word safe carries so much meaning. When she says it, she is not simply complimenting your personality. She is acknowledging how your presence affects her internal world. She is saying that when she is with you, she does not feel judged. She does not feel pressured to prove her worth. She does not feel the need to hide her imperfections. She feels accepted. Acceptance is rare, and rare things are valuable. In the fast moving world we live in today, many relationships remain shallow because people are afraid to reveal their authentic selves. They fear rejection. They fear criticism. They fear being misunderstood. So they keep conversations light, casual, safe on the surface. But emotional depth requires risk. Someone has to go first. Someone has to create the environment where honesty feels welcome instead of dangerous. When you become that person, something remarkable happens. People start trusting you with their truth. This is where the strength of an iron mind truly matters. Because emotional safety requires emotional discipline. It requires resisting the urge to judge quickly. It requires patience when someone shares vulnerable experiences. It requires maturity when conversations become serious. And maturity is magnetic. A calm, thoughtful man stands out in a noisy world. A man who speaks carefully instead of constantly. A man who listens deeply instead of waiting for his turn to talk. A man who shows emotional control instead of reacting impulsively. These qualities reflect old Stoic wisdom in action. And that wisdom remains powerful because human nature has not changed. Technology has evolved. Culture has shifted. But people still seek the same things: understanding, respect, and emotional security. When you provide those things, your presence becomes valuable. Now understand another important point. When a woman says she feels safe with you, it often means she is beginning to imagine a deeper future connection. Safety signals potential partnership, not just attraction, not just curiosity, but long-term possibility, because love requires trust. The author Leo Buscaglia once said, "Love is life. And if you miss love, you miss life." But love cannot exist where safety is absent. Without emotional security, people stay guarded. They remain cautious. They protect themselves instead of connecting deeply. Safety removes that barrier. Once trust appears, emotional intimacy begins to grow. She shares more. She asks deeper questions. She becomes more curious about your life. She listens more carefully. Conversations become longer, more meaningful. This is how relationships evolve from casual interest into something lasting. And here is the crucial instruction. If a woman ever tells you she feels safe with you, treat that statement with respect. Do not brush it off. Do not respond with arrogance. Do not treat it like a routine compliment. Recognize the responsibility that comes with it. Trust must be protected. Your actions after that moment matter more than your actions before it. Because once someone opens their emotional world to you, they are watching carefully to see whether that trust is deserved. This is where Stoicism teaches an important principle. Character is revealed through consistency. Words matter, but behavior matters more. Continue showing patience. Continue speaking honestly. Continue respecting boundaries. Continue listening carefully. Continue maintaining emotional balance. Those habits strengthen the trust she already feels. And trust grows stronger when it is rewarded with reliability. Remember another powerful Stoic idea. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Do not attempt to impress people with speeches about integrity. Demonstrate integrity through everyday actions. Do not promise emotional stability. Show emotional stability through your reactions. Do not claim strength. Live it quietly. That is the essence of an iron mind. When you live that way, your presence becomes calming instead of stressful. Your conversations become grounding instead of confusing. People leave interactions with you feeling better than when they arrived. And that is rare, very rare. Most people today are distracted, impatient, easily irritated. They react quickly. They speak without thinking. They escalate conflict instead of resolving it. When you operate differently, when you bring calm into conversations instead of chaos, you naturally stand out. Not through loud confidence, but through quiet reliability. That quiet reliability is deeply attractive. A woman who feels safe with you begins to associate your presence with emotional relief. She feels understood. She feels respected. She feels valued for who she truly is rather than for how she performs. And over time, those feelings transform attraction into something deeper. Because love is not just excitement, it is comfort, it is trust, it is the knowledge that another person sees you clearly and still chooses to stay. When a woman says she feels safe with you, she is signaling that this deeper connection is beginning to form. That single word, safe, contains layers of meaning. It contains appreciation. It contains gratitude. It contains emotional vulnerability. And most importantly, it contains choice. She is choosing to lower her guard. She is choosing to trust you with parts of herself she does not show everyone. She is choosing emotional openness instead of emotional distance. That choice should never be taken lightly. So here's the lesson. Develop the mindset that creates safety naturally. Strengthen your emotional discipline. Build the calm clarity of an iron mind. Practice the principles of old Stoic wisdom in your everyday behavior. Speak thoughtfully. Act consistently. Listen deeply. When you do these things, you will notice something powerful happening. People begin to trust you more quickly. Conversations become more meaningful. Relationships become more genuine. Because emotional safety is magnetic. And in a chaotic world, the man who provides calm becomes unforgettable. So if one day a woman looks at you and says, I feel safe with you, recognize what you have achieved. You have become more than someone she enjoys spending time with. You have become someone she trusts with her peace. And when someone trusts you with their peace, that is not just attraction. That is the beginning of love. 4. Tell me more. Listen carefully to this phrase because many men hear it and completely overlook its meaning. Tell me more. When a woman says this during a conversation, something important is happening beneath the surface. Most people listen just enough to respond, but genuine curiosity is different. It slows the conversation down. It opens a door. When she says, tell me more, she is not filling silence or being polite. She is leaning in emotionally. That is one of the oldest and most reliable psychology tricks hidden inside everyday conversation. Curiosity reveals attraction. People naturally want to explore the inner world of someone who captures their attention. Think about it. When someone doesn't interest you, you don't ask deeper questions. You nod, you move on, you change the subject. But when a woman asks you to go deeper, when she invites you to expand your story, explain your thinking, or share another detail, she is investing energy in the moment. That is female curiosity at work, and it connects strongly to female psychology and the subtle ways emotional attraction grows. The philosopher Epictetus once said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. A woman who asks you to continue speaking is creating a space where connection can grow naturally. She wants to understand you. She wants to explore how you think. And more importantly, she wants to feel your presence in that conversation. Many men miss this moment because they rush. Don't rush. Don't turn it into a performance. Be calm. Be grounded. That is how attraction deepens. A man who understands female psychology recognizes that curiosity is the early stage of emotional investment. When she says, tell me more, she is quietly saying, I want to understand you better. And that is one of the most important psychology tricks you can recognize in modern dating. Remember, attraction rarely begins with dramatic gestures. It begins with small signals repeated over time. A question, a smile, a moment of focused attention. When a woman keeps asking you to continue speaking, she is building emotional momentum. She is exploring the possibility of connection. That is how the process of how to fall in love often begins, not with fireworks, but with curiosity. A thoughtful man handles this moment wisely. Don't brag. Don't dominate the conversation. Don't flood the moment with endless stories. Instead, respond with clarity and calm confidence. Share meaningful experiences. Speak honestly. Let your personality appear naturally. That is how trust grows. As the writer Maya Angelou once said, people will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. When a woman asks you to keep talking, she is not only interested in the facts of your story, she is interested in the feeling of the interaction itself. She wants to see your energy, your mindset, your emotional stability. This is where many men succeed or fail. Some try too hard. Others shut down. Neither works. Balance works. Presence works. When you understand these small signals, you start to see how psychology tricks shape everyday conversations. You begin to notice patterns in female psychology that most men overlook. A simple question like, "Tell me more," becomes a window into her interest level. It shows that she is comfortable staying in the conversation. It shows that she values what you are saying. It shows that she is emotionally engaged in the moment with you. And emotional engagement is the foundation of attraction. It is also the quiet beginning of how to fall in love. Connection grows through shared moments of curiosity, storytelling, and understanding. When a woman invites you to open up, she is testing whether you are someone worth knowing more deeply. That is the real signal hidden behind those three simple words. So the next time you hear, "Tell me more," don't dismiss it. Don't ignore it. Recognize it for what it is, a small but meaningful indicator that she enjoys being in your presence. Stay calm. Stay grounded. Speak with purpose. Because a man who understands these signals is a man who understands people. And a man who understands people will always have an advantage in relationships, in conversations, and in the quiet art of attraction. Hello, my friend, and thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. Before we part ways, let's pause for a moment and reflect on the deeper lesson behind everything we talked about today. The truth is, attraction and emotional connection are rarely obvious. They rarely arrive with dramatic speeches or grand gestures. Most of the time, they appear quietly, hidden inside simple words that many people overlook. When a woman says, "You matter," she is not just being polite. She is telling you that your presence has meaning in her life, that what you say and what you do actually affects her emotionally. When she begins to use the word "we" instead of "I," something important has shifted in her mind. She is no longer thinking only about her own path. She is beginning to picture a shared direction, a future where you and her move forward together. And when she says, "I feel safe with you," that is one of the strongest signals a woman can give. Safety is not just about protection. It is about emotional peace. It means she trusts your character, your calmness, your stability. In a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, a man who can create that sense of safety becomes incredibly valuable. But here is the key lesson I want you to remember. These words don't appear by accident. They appear when you consistently show up as a grounded, emotionally steady man. A man who listens more than he speaks. A man who doesn't chase approval, but earns respect through his actions. A man who stays calm when others panic, who stays thoughtful when others react impulsively. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." When you focus on building your character, your discipline, and your emotional intelligence, people begin to feel that energy around you. They feel understood. They feel respected. And most importantly, they feel safe. So my sincere advice to you is simple. Don't obsess over trying to decode every word or analyze every small signal. Instead, focus on becoming the type of man whose presence naturally creates trust and comfort. When you live with self-respect, clarity, and calm strength, the right signals will come to you without force. Pay attention to the quiet shifts in conversation. Notice when someone begins to value your presence, when they include you in their vision, when they express that sense of emotional safety. Those small moments often reveal far more than loud declarations ever could. Thank you again for spending this time with me today and for being part of this community that values wisdom, self-mastery, and deeper understanding of human connection. If this video gave you a new perspective, consider supporting the channel by liking the video so more people can discover this message. And if you enjoy content about emotional intelligence, stoic wisdom, and building stronger relationships, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next conversation. I'd also love to hear your experience. Have you ever heard someone say, "You matter, we," or "I feel safe with you," and only realized later what it truly meant? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else see things more clearly. Until next time, my friend, stay grounded, stay aware, and keep becoming the kind of man whose calm strength speaks louder than words. I'll see you in the next video.